In the shadowy corners of history, there are tales that emerge from the mist of time, tales that beckon to the darkest recesses of our imagination. Today, we invite you to embark on a journey into the heart of Halloween, where tales of enigmatic drivers, eerie roads, and ghostly encounters have captured the imagination of many. Are these stories mere legends, created to intrigue and unsettle? Or could they be whispers of real events, forever entwined with the mysterious allure of Halloween night? As you listen, consider the possibility that these stories may have a kernel of truth, lurking in the shadows of our shared history. Let your imagination guide you through the dark and haunted landscapes of our past. On a chilly Halloween night in a small American town, a lone taxi driver named Jacob prepared to embark on his last shift before taking a well-deserved vacation. As he started his car and cruised through the dimly lit streets, the moon cast eerie shadows across the road, setting the perfect ambience for a spooky Halloween evening. It was no secret that Jacob enjoyed Halloween. He'd always been fond of the holiday's blend of tricks, treats, and the ghostly ambience that seemed to settle over the town every year. But little did he know that this particular Halloween night would become etched in his memory for the rest of his life. Jacob received a call from an unfamiliar number. The voice on the other end was soft and slightly distorted. The caller needed a ride to an old cemetery outside of town. Jacob hesitated for a moment, but eventually agreed to pick up the fare. After all, it was Halloween, and strange requests were part of the fun, he thought. As he drove through the inky darkness, the passenger remained silent in the back seat. The only source of light was the pale moon that occasionally peeked through the thick clouds. Jacob couldn't see his passenger's face, just the silhouette of a figure draped in a long, tattered cloak. The ride was eerie, to say the least. Jacob tried to make small talk, but the passenger didn't respond. A chill ran down his spine as he navigated through the winding roads leading to the cemetery. There, he stopped the car and the passenger stepped out without a word. As Jacob watched the figure disappear into the graveyard, he couldn't help but feel an overwhelming sense of dread. He locked the doors and waited, his heart pounding in his chest. Minutes turned into hours as he sat there in the dim light of the moon. Suddenly, the car's engine sputtered to life, its headlights piercing the darkness. Jacob's fear escalated as he realized that he hadn't turned the key. In a panic, he reached for his phone to call for help, but it had mysteriously gone dead. The shadows around him seemed to come to life, taking on sinister forms and whispering eerie words that sent shivers down his spine. Just when Jacob was about to flee the scene on foot, the passenger reappeared from the cemetery, holding a flickering lantern that cast eerie, dancing shadows. With a bony hand, the passenger gestured for Jacob to follow. Fearful and desperate, Jacob obeyed, his feet taking him deeper into the graveyard. There, in the heart of the cemetery, he saw something that would haunt his nightmares for the rest of his life. The passenger's lantern revealed a freshly dug grave with Jacob's name etched onto the headstone. A blood-curdling scream escaped Jacob's lips as he realized the horrifying truth. The passenger was no ordinary fare. It was a specter of death, leading him to his own grave on Halloween night. In a state of pure terror, Jacob fell to the ground, unable to comprehend the sinister fate that awaited him. The townsfolk awoke the next morning to the sound of sirens and the sight of police cars surrounding the desolate cemetery. The taxi was found abandoned with its engine still running, its interior filled with the chilling presence of the supernatural. Jacob's lifeless body was discovered beside the grave, with his name on it, a look of pure horror frozen on his face. To this day, the legend of the haunted taxi ride on Halloween night lingers in the town. Some say it's just a tale to scare children, but others insist that Jacob's terrifying encounter was all too real. And every Halloween, as the moon casts eerie shadows and the wind rustles the leaves, there are those who swear they can still hear the ghostly whispers of a taxi driver who met a dreadful fate on the spookiest night of the year. The Midnight Bus, a Halloween mystery. In a small, forgotten town nestled in the heart of America, a tale circulated every Halloween, whispered in hushed voices as the wind rustled through the withered leaves. It was the story of Sam, the town's bus driver, and the night he drove the ill-fated midnight bus to nowhere. Sam was known as a kind and reliable man, the sort of bus driver who always had a friendly word and a warm smile for his passengers. But on that fateful Halloween night, the townsfolk would learn a different side of Sam, a side that had been hidden in the shadows, waiting to emerge. The night was thick with an otherworldly fog, and the moon shone like a pale, eerie eye in the sky. A group of teenagers, eager for some Halloween excitement, decided to take a ride on Sam's bus. As they boarded, they noticed something peculiar in his eyes. They were not the warm and welcoming eyes they were used to, but rather cold and distant, as if Sam's very soul had been replaced by something else. The teenagers paid their fares and took their seats, the bus pulling away from the curb with an eerie creaking of its doors. Sam's route, however, was unlike any other. Instead of heading toward the town's familiar streets, the bus ventured into a dense, ancient forest that had long been abandoned. The passengers exchanged nervous glances, their unease growing with every passing mile. As the bus rumbled deeper into the heart of the forest, the air grew colder and the fog thicker. The trees seemed to close in around them, their twisted branches casting long, bony shadows on the road. It was then that Sam began to speak in a haunting, monotone voice. He told them about a forgotten legend, a tale of a cursed road that led to a realm of darkness and despair. The passengers realized with dread that the road they were on was the very one Sam described, and they were on a journey to nowhere. Panic and fear seized their hearts, and they pleaded with Sam to turn back, but he remained stoic, as if controlled by an unseen force. Hours passed, or perhaps it was an eternity, for time lost its meaning on that accursed road. The passengers watched in terror as Sam's appearance began to change. His skin grew ashen, his eyes became hollow, and his eyes became hollow, and his once friendly smile contorted into a malevolent grin. At last, the bus came to a halt in the heart of the forest, and Sam's transformation was complete. He was no longer the kind bus driver they had known. Instead, he was the harbinger of an ancient and malevolent force, a force that demanded the souls of those who dared to ride the midnight bus to nowhere on Halloween night. The passengers were never seen again, and the townsfolk learned never to board the midnight bus, for its destination was a realm of darkness and despair, from which no one could return. As Halloween descended upon the town each year, the legend of Sam and his midnight bus continued to chill the hearts of those who heard it. Was it a cautionary tale, a mere story to frighten the children, or was there something more sinister at play? Some believed that the curse still lingered, waiting for those unfortunate souls who dared to board the bus on Halloween night, ready to transport them to a realm of eternal darkness. Halloween haunts, 1950s taxi drive. In the bustling streets of a major American city during the year 1950, Halloween brought an air of excitement and festivity. Costumed children eagerly roamed the neighborhoods, seeking treats and playing pranks under the soft glow of street lamps. However, amidst the revelry, one Halloween night would become a peculiar and unsolved mystery. James O'Connor, a seasoned taxi driver, was known throughout the city as a reliable and trustworthy man. He had seen it all during his years behind the wheel, from the lively celebrations of New Year's Eve to the quiet moments of solitude on foggy nights. But Halloween held a special place in his heart. On that crisp October evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the city's lights began to twinkle, James started his shift with an extra layer of excitement. He adored the holiday for its unique blend of cheer and mischief. His taxi was adorned with plastic spiders, cardboard ghosts, and a jack-o'-lantern affixed to the dashboard. He couldn't wait to share a laugh with passengers about his Halloween spirit. Around midnight, James received a call from an unknown number, requesting a ride to a remote part of the city. The voice on the other end sounded slightly distorted but polite. As James arrived at the given location, he noticed a shadowy figure, their face concealed beneath a hooded cloak. The passenger slipped into the back seat without a word, their presence shrouded in an air of mystery. The requested destination was a dilapidated mansion on the outskirts of town. As the taxi approached the Eerie building, James couldn't help but feel a shiver run down his spine. The mansion was known for its peculiar history, and it was said to be abandoned for decades. The passenger instructed James to wait in the car while they entered the mansion, promising a generous tip upon their return. Curiosity got the better of James, and he watched the figure disappear into the dimly lit mansion. Minutes turned into hours, and James grew increasingly anxious. He wondered if the passenger had forgotten about the fare. As the clock struck 3 a.m., a blood-curdling scream pierced the night. James sprang from the taxi, racing toward the mansion. He heard shuffling footsteps and unintelligible whispers from within. Fear gnawed at his heart as he hesitated at the threshold of the mansion's decaying doorway. When he finally mustered the courage to enter, the mansion was empty, and the only evidence of his passenger's presence was a chilling note left on a dusty table. It read, "The past never rests." James never saw the mysterious passenger again. The mansion remained deserted, a place of sinister whispers and unexplained phenomena. To this day, the Halloween mystery of 1950 haunts the memories of those who knew James O'Connor and the peculiar events that unfolded that fateful night, leaving them to wonder about the secrets hidden in the past. The city's Halloween celebrations continued each year, but James O'Connor's story served as a reminder that amidst the fun and festivity, there were mysteries that might never be solved.